What if the true battle isn't just fought on the battlefield, but also, won or lost in the pages of history that recount it?
That's a powerful thought.
Right. Today, we're plunging into exactly that idea. We're exploring how one historian, Antony Beevor, really shaped our understanding of a pivotal moment. The Fall of Berlin, 1945.
An absolutely huge book.
Huge. But this isn't just about the historical events themselves. Our mission here is to unearth the powerful nuggets of knowledge from the rhetorical analysis of Beevor's book.
Looking at how he tells the story.
Exactly. How did he achieve such a lasting impact through his specific choices? And just so you know, you are experiencing a unique two-host AI conversation powered by Google's NotebookLM for deeper, more dynamic book analysis.
A new way to explore these texts.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Whenever we read history, credibility is just, well, everything, isn't it?
It absolutely is foundational.
So who is Antony Beevor? Why should we, trust his take on something as massive as the Fall of Berlin? What's his background? What gives him that authority, that ethos?
That's the crucial starting point. Antony Beevor, he's a very well-known British historian, also a former military officer, which probably gives him a certain perspective.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, and he's really celebrated for these narrative military histories. They managed to be incredibly readable, very accessible, but also rigorously researched.
Not just pop history.
Not at all. His ethos, that credibility, it's built on years of really meticulous archival work. And he's got this reputation, quite deservedly, for, well, fearlessly tackling historical taboos.
Like what, specifically?
Most notably, the conduct of the Soviet Red Army during World War II, things that were often kept quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And what really bolsters his objectivity, or the perception of it anyway, is his willingness to critique both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Nazi actions, Soviet actions. He presents a more balanced, though often quite brutal, picture.
Okay, that makes sense. A strong foundation. But here's where it gets really interesting for us as, critical readers. Even someone like Beevor, with that strong credibility, faces scrutiny. Our analysis mentions some criticism about him relying on maybe older sources for certain things.
Yes, that does come up.
And that this might lead to some factual limitations, particularly around specific operational details. It just shows that even with strong ethos, history's never really settled, is it?
That's a fantastic point. Historical accounts are living things, always open to new evidence, new interpretations, ongoing discussion.
Does Beevor respond to those kinds of critiques directly? Or how does he position his work?
Well, he mostly lets the research speak for itself. His referencing is extensive, almost challenging others to bring forth contradictory evidence from the archives.
Okay.
But the timing of the book, 2002, right after his big success with Stalingrad, that's also key. There was this lingering cultural silence, as the analysis puts it. Political sensitivities around the Red Army's final push.
So people were maybe ready or needed to hear this story told differently.
Exactly. His willingness to break that silence, to give this detailed, very human-focused perspective, it really boosted his ethos for a lot of readers at that specific moment.
Right. The occasion, the timing was perfect. So thinking about that moment, who was he writing for? Was it mainly academics, military buffs, or someone else?
Primarily, he was aiming for the general reader, people interested in English language history, wanting a compelling narrative.
Got it.
Now, academics were definitely a secondary audience, and his work certainly sparked a lot of debate in those circles.
I bet.
But he very deliberately tailored that, vivid storytelling and unflinching depiction of brutality for readers who appreciate clarity and, frankly, a visceral sense of history. He wasn't afraid to show the ugliness.
So he bridged that gap. Popular and academic.
He did, quite effectively. Engaged both.
That's a really good picture of his foundation. Knowing who Beevor is the moment he wrote it, it really makes you ask, what was he actually trying to achieve? What was the book's main purpose?
Well, it seems to be a dual purpose, really. On one hand, definitely to inform, to lay out the events.
Yeah, the basic historical function.
But just as importantly, maybe even more so, he wanted to evoke strong emotional reactions. He aimed to challenge the established narratives, especially the sanitized versions, and to really emphasize the moral complexities. This wasn't black and white. He wasn't just documenting. He was actively engaging with myths, Soviet myths, German myths, trying to push readers towards deeper moral reflection.
Making you grapple with it.
Precisely. And that connects directly to the exigence, that urgent problem or need he felt compelled to address.
What was that specific urgency?
It was the taboo, the silence around the mass rape and widespread violence during that final Soviet assault.
A topic many histories probably just skipped over, especially back then.
Or minimized, certainly in Russian historiography. Beevor confronts it head-on. The book explicitly tries to fill those gaps, to make readers face these incredibly uncomfortable truths, no matter how disturbing.
Wow. Okay, so given that extremely heavy, frankly horrifying subject matter, what's the overall tone? What's the feeling you get reading it?
The subject covers everything, military, political, but so much focus on the civilian experience, the collapse of everything.
Yeah.
So the tone, it's urgent, it's grim, quite often, but it also reveals incredible endurance alongside the horror. He creates this immersive, very emotionally charged narrative. It pulls you in and makes you feel the weight of it all.
It sounds incredibly intense.
It is. It demands your attention, your emotional investment.
Okay, before we dive even deeper into Beevor's toolkit, how he actually achieves all this, let's just take a quick moment for you, our listener.
Good idea.
This deep dive, blending summary and analysis, it's really designed to spark reflection and hopefully rational thought. If you're finding this kind of AI-powered book analysis useful, consider checking out Mindful Moments on our YouTube channel.
More insights like this available there.
Definitely. Okay, so back to Beevor and that grim, intense subject matter. How does he make sure we feel the history, not just read about troop movements? How does he connect emotionally?
That's pathos, right?
Exactly, pathos, the appeal to emotion. And Beevor was a master of it. He uses incredibly stark imagery, direct quotes, personal testimonies. It creates this visceral sense of horror, yes, but also empathy and even moral outrage.
It's about the human cost.
Absolutely. Not just numbers, but individual suffering. He tells these personal stories that make the mass trauma feel immediate, accessible, and deeply, deeply unsettling. It's powerful stuff. You read the accounts of survivors he includes, unfiltered. It hits hard.
You can imagine it moves beyond just facts into feeling.
It really does. But it's not just emotion. There's a solid logical structure holding it all together, too. His use of logos, the appeal to logic and reason.
How does that work in the book?
He structures it chronologically, for the most part, very detailed. He focuses on cause and effect, why things happen the way they did.
And he carefully balances the, operational military details, troop movements, strategies with the broader historical context, so you understand the why.
So, for someone reading it, trying to follow the arguments, is his logic, his logos, generally seen as sound? Or are there debates there too?
Generally, it's very strong, very compelling, especially for that general readership he's aiming for. But as we touched on earlier, some critics argue he occasionally simplifies some operational complexities.
Readability.
Likely, yes, to keep the narrative flowing for a wider audience. And some of his specific strategic arguments, like about the Allied decisions regarding Berlin, they definitely spark scholarly debate.
Which isn't necessarily bad, right? Shows the book is making people think.
Exactly. It's a sign of its significance. It generates discussion.
And can we quickly touch on ethos again here? How does his approach reinforce his credibility throughout the book?
Well, his constant emphasis on the archival research, the interviews he conducted, it all builds trustworthiness. He cites his sources meticulously.
Showing his work.
Right. And that willingness we mentioned to criticize all sides, that adds to the sense of balance. But again, there's that caveat some historians raise about maybe relying on some dated materials in places, which keeps the scholarly conversation going.
Okay, so beyond the big appeals, emotion, logic, credibility, how does he actually write? What are his language choices like? His word choice, diction, and sentence structure, syntax?
His diction is very direct, often graphic, yes, but always precise. He doesn't use shocking language just for effect. It serves the purpose of conveying the reality.
Doesn't shy away.
No. And he blends this sort of formal analysis with really vivid, sometimes brutal description. Then his syntax, the sentence structure, is really dynamic. He varies it a lot.
How so?
Short, punchy sentences in the middle of intense action scenes to create immediacy. Then longer, more flowing sentences for reflection or providing context. It creates this rhythm, enhances the drama, very effective.
Makes it feel more alive.
Definitely. And he uses figurative language really well, too. Things like metaphors, analogies.
Any examples stand out?
The analysis mentions Twilight of the Devils. That's not just description. It's a metaphor that captures the surreal horror and moral collapse. He often uses these sharp contrasts, like setting the delusions of the Nazi leadership against the suffering of ordinary Berliners.
Highlighting the gap between rhetoric and reality.
Exactly. It's a powerful commentary on the hypocrisy and the human cost of those final desperate acts.
So, taking a step back, How does he pull all these elements, the appeals, the language together, across the whole narrative? How's the whole thing organized?
Well, it's mostly chronological, as I said, follows the timeline of the battle,
Makes sense.
but he layers it with these recurring thematic focuses. Things like collective trauma, civilian survival strategies, the military blunders and successes. He revisits motifs like downfall, brutality,
So it's
endurance.
not just one event after another.
No, that repetition reinforces the key messages without feeling redundant. It builds this rich, multidimensional picture.
And you mentioned contrast earlier.
Yes, juxtaposition is huge for him, setting individual stories right up against these massive historical forces, or showing the stark contrast between, say, Soviet propaganda about liberation and the actual behavior of some soldier.
Exposing the hypocrisy again?
Precisely. It forces you, the reader, to confront those uncomfortable contradictions about human behavior, about political systems.
Are there other, maybe more advanced techniques he uses?
Oh, yes. Lots of allusions, references to other battles, like Stalingrad, which looms large, and key figures. Hitler, Speer, Stalin. This provides context, deepens the meaning, connects Berlin to the bigger picture.
Ties it all together.
It does. And there's a pervasive sense of irony, especially in how he portrays the final Nazi delusions or the contradictions within the Soviet system. It's often a very dark irony, highlighting the absurd and tragic disconnect between ideology and reality.
It sounds like a really complex, carefully constructed narrative. So the big question, did he pull it off? Did Beevor succeed in his goals? Was the book effective?
Overwhelmingly, yes. It was incredibly effective in making the fall of Berlin feel real, tangible, and in making that difficult, taboo history unavoidable.
He gets praised for that.
Widely praised for its graphic honesty, its narrative pace, its emotional resonance, it forces a confrontation with the past.
But are there downsides? Trade-offs.
Some critics feel the intense focus on atrocity, while necessary, might slightly overshadow a deeper strategic analysis for those really focused on the military side. A question of balance, perhaps.
Understandable. How did different audiences react? You mentioned general readers versus academics earlier. And what about the ethics of his approach? It's handling very sensitive material.
Right. Popular history readers generally find it gripping, accessible, powerful. Academics might nitpick the evidence selection or operational details more, as we discussed.
Your priorities.
Exactly. But his strategies clearly work to reach a very broad readership, blending that rigor with immersion. Ethically, his approach is seen as coherent. The analysis notes little sensationalizing.
He's not just going for shock value.
No, the goal seems to be moral accountability. And his directness about mass rape and the denial surrounding it is often described as ethically courageous, rare even, bringing something crucial out of the shadows.
So wrapping up on its impact.
Ultimately, the fall of Berlin, 1945, uses all these tools, emotional appeals, logic, language, structure, to break silences, confront complexity, and engage readers powerfully. It had a massive impact, really setting a high bar for contemporary military history.
Even with the controversy it stirred.
Maybe because of the controversy, it made uncomfortable truths central to the narrative, forcing a reckoning.
Wow. So Antony Beevor's The Fall of Berlin, 1945. It's clearly much more than just a chronicle of a battle.
Much more.
It's a profound demonstration of how carefully chosen words, these powerful narrative techniques, and just a sheer willingness to face uncomfortable truths can literally reshape how we understand history.
Absolutely. It challenges you.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other vital stories are still out there, waiting to be told with that kind of unflinching honesty? And what rhetorical tools might they use to change our minds, and maybe even our hearts?
A crucial question for how we engage with the past.
Remember, for more insightful analyses like this, discussions that aim to inspire rational thought, check out Mindful Moments on our YouTube channel and our other podcasts too.
Lots more to explore there.
And if this deep dive has sparked your curiosity about Beevor's book itself, there's much more detail available. Click the link on screen for the in-depth book summary. Don't forget to subscribe, share, maybe purchase via the link if you're interested, and most importantly, keep thinking rationally.